Hello everyone and welcome to the Crumbs podcast, where we pick up the pieces
of whatever's left behind.
I can tell you're sick of that intro.
I'm so sorry, it's just so cringy.
Excuse me, I came up with it. But anyways, today we're going to be talking about is it controversial?
Yes.
It has its controversies. We're going to talk about a really big issue. It's very multi-layered, and here we go, I guess. It's a big topic, so let's just get started. What are we talking about today?
Yeah, so we're mainly going to be talking about body dissatisfaction, which I don't think has been frequently explored. We are going to link this into the internalization of media body ideals and how this kind of creates like a perceived pressure to achieve this kind of ideal.
And we're going to be mainly discussing this through the medium of obviously the media, social media, photoshopping, celebrities, plastic surgery, like everything in the kitchen sink basically.
Yeah, and we are going to be using a lot of examples of women only because we are women and we're able to give that perspective.
And we've only experienced being women, so we're going to be talking about the female experience.
Yes. This isn't to diminish the male experience at all because, of course, men go through this as well. Everyone does.
There are some things we disagree on. There are also things that we don't disagree on, but I'm just going to play devil's advocate a lot because I do spend a lot of time on the internet and I feel like I've heard almost every single argument. So just because I say something that may seem very controversial doesn't mean I necessarily believe in that idea or notion. It's just to get another perspective in so we can create more of a discussion.
To begin with, I'm very curious. Have you ever used Photoshop? I know you don't like that question,
Okay.
But to kick things off, have you used Photoshop? Publicly, not just, editing your photos.
I feel like I need media training to answer this question. No, I'm just kidding. Facetune, hello there, please sponsor me. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I have Facetuned pictures before, but I feel like I'm getting better at it. Like on my Instagram, I posted like a full body image, and that picture, like none of it was photoshopped. That was the raw image. And I feel like ever since posting that, I've been feeling a lot better. And I think mainly because people have already seen me on video. Like you've seen me in my rawest
self.
My truest self. So I don't really feel the need to Photoshop myself or whatnot because everyone knows how I already look like.
So why did you choose not to use Photoshop on that image?
That's actually a really good question. I don't know. Because it was a body image, it wasn't like I was blurring out a pimple or anything. Seeing the before and after, I was like, wait a minute, that's not me. That's not my body. Like, I felt like that was the first time I felt like, oh, this is a lie if I were to Photoshop this.
So I think this is where we disagree because you're against Photoshop when it comes to body image, but not so much as taking off a pimple or fixing up your skin.
Yeah, and I call this the pimple dilemma because a part of me is like, okay, I have a pimple in this photo. I could just Photoshop it out because I usually don't have this pimple. But at that moment and at that time, I did have a pimple, and that was a part of me at that time. So that's where I do have this internal conflict.
Yeah, I get what you're saying because at some point there's a difference between artistic photography and body morphing Photoshop. I think it's okay to use Photoshop to, enhance colors and correct clothing and like wardrobe malfunctions, especially like special events photos. Like you can't go back and put your wedding dress back down because it flew up in the wind. Can Photoshop do that? Can Photoshop fix that?
Probably, honestly.
That's a bit exaggerative, but I mean, on your wedding day, there might be, your hair flying the wrong way or straying hairs, and fixing that would using Photoshop. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
But that's the thing, there is a grey area because you have someone like Kim Kardashian where she photoshopped like a strand of hair that was out of the photo and people were like, why did you do that? And then you have people like James Charles who does openly admit that he facetunes his images, but it's so confusing because he says he sees Facetune as much as an art as makeup because when he uses Facetune he does enhance the eyeshadow and things like that. He adds more detail and glow or whatnot. But then he also makes his nose smaller and lowers the hairline. It's quite a grey area.
Yes. The thing is about art, it's a very complicated kind of art because the way that it's received has consequences.
Yeah.
It's not just received purely for enjoyment, especially with makeup. You'd want to replicate that.
That's why it's so hard to distinguish between art and body morphing, because even makeup is that in a sense. Because there are people who put on makeup for fun and stuff like that, but you'd have to be pretty naive to think that there isn't someone who puts on makeup out of insecurity.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I feel much better with makeup on, let's be honest.
Honestly, me too. But the thing is, I also wear makeup because I enjoy it and I like the way it looks on me.
Yes, that's why we switch our makeup looks, even though I've been wearing the same makeup look for the past 10 years.
It's quite difficult. Like, I'm already having a mental debate and we
Yeah.
barely even started.
So I think to make this a little bit easier, because it's so broad, we would probably be focusing on body morphing Photoshop.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially that used by influencers and celebrities.
Yeah, because in a way, face Photoshop is sort of more personal, I would say. Except for blurring out like the pimple, whatnot, like blurring out your face. Like other like face Photoshop, I think that's a bit more personal because everyone has a different face. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, but I think body image is much bigger than,
Yeah.
oh, I have a pimple, even though that's important because it still sets unrealistic expectations and
Yeah.
ideals. If you don't have a pore or any pimples or you don't have any skin texture because you're an alien.
Oh, that pisses me off so much. How do you not have a pore in your skin? That makes no sense.
Where do you sweat from?
So yeah, like you said, our focus is going to be on body morphing Photoshop. And this is used by not only influencers and celebrities like it was back in the day, but just like the regular people like you and I are able to access applications like Facetune, Photoshop, and be able to Photoshop our images.
Yeah, I think it's come to a point where everybody, not everybody, the majority of people know it exists. The majority of people know how to use it and use it, yet it still has the same effect, I would say.
And just to bring this in, I feel like sometimes admitting it is not enough. For example, Tana Mojo, she's like notorious for like face tuning her images and she admits it or whatnot. If you look at her Instagram photos, it is literally a completely different person and it's a completely different body. I don't know what sort of message that sends because in real life, in like video, she has like a normal body. Then again, what is normal? Then again, what is normal? But like she does have like you said, a nice body. So it's kind of sad to see her Photoshop, especially when we've all seen how she actually looks like. Photoshopping photos beyond recognition, honestly.
Yeah, that happens a lot. I mean, it happens with the Kardashians. For instance,
well, at least
Kylie Jenner and Kim and all their sisters, all the Kardashians do it too.
And they don't admit to it.
They don't admit to it at all. I mean, Kim wasn't born like that. It's obvious.
And it's not only the Photoshop, but it's also the surgery.
Yeah, like combining Photoshop with surgery, it's so unattainable.
It's very unattainable. It's unattainable perfection. It's such a destructive concept, honestly.
Yeah, like with Kylie Jenner after she got lip injections, clearly she had lip injections done, but teenagers wouldn't know that. Like very young teenagers would just believe her and think, oh, it's makeup. It wasn't makeup. She had surgery done.
We'll get to Kylie and her surgeries.
And her photos are also photoshopped.
Especially teenagers and like younger people, when they come across images of like Kylie like before her glow up and after her glow up, I feel like it sort of just normalizes rejection of who you are, like especially physically. Do you get what I mean? Like if you don't have this type of nose or this type of lips, we sort of normalize the idea to sort of reject it and change it.
Ironically, we're moving forward, yet we're moving back in time also because we are putting so much emphasis on the physical being rather than someone's true self and what they have to offer to the world.
Yeah.
It's ironic that it's 2019. Happy New Year, everyone. It's 2019 now, yet the way of thinking and what we place value on and importance on is kind of backward. Speaking of history, I mean, the standard of female beauty has always been unrealistic and difficult to attain. So it had nothing to do with the media. We know that those who were rich and were of a high socioeconomic status were more likely to conform to these standards because obviously they had the money and luxury to do so.
Yeah. And even before like plastic surgery and all this sort of stuff, it was kind of seen like through the ages that women were willing to accept and endure some sort of pain and to sacrifice comfort just to achieve a certain image. In the colonial times, everyone in the family was supposed to contribute to survival. And so even in like the, what's it called? Neanderthal ages? What's it called? Caveman and cavewoman, that's it.
That's the era.
Yeah. Starting from that era, it was sort of seen that like the value was placed on fertile, physically strong and able women. So the emphasis was more so on what you could bring to the table as opposed to how you look.
Yeah, but then this obviously changed in the 19th century because ideals kind of shifted and they started preferring women with like tiny waists and large busts, and they were more of value. It was desirable for a man with money to be able to hold a woman's waist in his hands. I think that ideal kind of shifted because if women were too frail to work, it kind of justified plantation owners using slaves. So it kind of ties into politics as well.
Oh, my head hurts already as soon as you said the P word. But the thing is, we're not living in the 19th century anymore. And I would say, do you say that people more so have a choice to not conform to the ideal?
Yes, of course. I mean, after they introduced corsets and whatever, women decided, no, we're not going to do this anymore. And, you know, they turned up their noses to those dresses with 1,000 buckles.
Yeah.
And, you know, they started favouring pants and stuff. So, yeah, even back then, I think people could resist that.
Yeah. And now that we do have this sort of resistance, obviously there are still social constructs that, you know, the media sort of adheres to and stuff like that. But just for like a regular person, this is also a dilemma that I have. Where do you draw the line between what you want and what makes you happy versus doing something just because it's a societal norm in terms of body image? How do I differentiate getting a nose job because I want a smaller nose versus smaller nose is sort of what society likes at the moment and therefore it sort of influenced me to want to get a nose job. I don't want a nose job, by the way. That was just an example.
That's very interesting to bring up. And I remember, I don't know if it was a few years back, maybe, yeah, I would say it was a few years back. I think Carly Bible had a video on this and she was explaining why she didn't openly say that she had lip fillers and injections, even though she had no problem in admitting it.
Mm-hmm.
Like she'd mentioned that she goes to Botox parties with her mom and stuff, but she kind of talked about how she feels like a lot of her audience are young girls and she didn't want to influence them that way, even though she herself decided that she wanted to get lip fillers. She kind of didn't want to share that online in case it influenced a young girl or to get lip fillers or to normalize it.
By the way, I really like Carly Bybel and I get what she's saying and I like what she's saying. But what if someone comes across a video for the first time and you just think she's just like that naturally perfect? Because I had no idea she had lip fillers. I remember seeing Carly Bybel for the first time and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, me too. Yes, I thought, wow, is she even human? I think this is where the problem lies. Does admittance automatically equal to endorsement? Like if you admit that you got plastic surgery or you got lip fillers, are you telling the world, this is what I want you to do to look like me?
Oh, I'm just stumped, honestly, because...
Yeah, it's a really difficult question to answer because you can do whatever you want with your body.
Yeah, we're not judging anyone for getting plastic surgery.
Yeah, it's none of our business or anyone's business.
Oh yeah, you're right. It isn't anyone's business. So maybe that's the answer.
We just made our podcast redundant.
I know. No, but it is redundant because on the one hand, like, it's none of our business. People can do what the hell they want. But on the other hand, if you do have a platform with a bunch of people, should you be more, like, socially responsible? I don't know.
Here's the thing, going back to your nose job analogy.
Yeah.
I think that's where the problem lies. Like, if you want a nose job because you honestly believe it will make you look better and more confident and it will improve your life, then I think that's okay. But how do you differentiate between what you really want and whether it's actually a societal construct? How do you differentiate, especially young girls? How do they differentiate? Okay, I really want to do this, or I really want to do this because everyone else is doing it and I see it online everywhere. If that's the case, then it's societal pressure. It's different.
I think I mentioned that earlier as well. I think that's what makes this conversation a bit hard. I get what you're saying. For the most part, I believe that people can do whatever they want. You agree as well.
Yeah.
But there's also a point where it just becomes ridiculous. Like society standards just become ridiculous. Like anti-aging and that whole entire like scheme or whatever confuses me so much. Like
Yeah,
something that's natural
the idea of you need to look young forever
is the definition of unrealistic.
that is, I mean, aging is natural.
Well-
What really upsets me,
Well,
using very young, like 20-year-old models,
yeah.
advertising to a target audience over 40 or 50. That, I think that's just insulting to everyone's intelligence.
Yeah, everyone says that anti-aging, you're meant to start young, so I get why they use like all those young people. But like targeting older people by using like younger models is ridiculous.
If you go into Maya or anywhere, you see Kendall and Gigi, who are literal fetuses, advertising anti-wrinkle cream.
And let's just get this straight, like there is no such thing as an anti-wrinkle cream, okay? I doubt a cream works for wrinkles unless you get Botox. Come on.
It wouldn't have such a massive effect.
Yeah, you can't
Unless you're
reverse it
getting
with
a
a cream.
peel or...
Yeah, I'm talking about like
Look
reversing.
at us thinking we're,
I'm talking about like
experts.
reversing, because usually
Yeah,
they claim to like
reversing.
reverse. That's like really extreme.
Even with creams, what they do is they plump up your skin temporarily.
Basically.
Everything's a scam, people.
And this also sort of ties into how your age is sort of linked to your value, because if you look at news anchors, I think I'm not sure if I read an article on this or if it was an actual study, but female news anchors, once they get grey hair, they're like encouraged to dye their hair. For some reason, like they can't have grey hair. However, male anchors are allowed to have their grey hair because it's seen as, oh, they're more wise and
Yeah.
more mature.
Yeah, sadly, I think it's because we're kind of used to this notion, and I'm not agreeing to this, but it's out there, that women kind of lose their value as they age.
Yeah. Just to like counter that argument, I feel maybe the reason why maybe it's not a social thing, maybe people just want to look younger because there is a part of our DNA to be more attractive to more productive and more fertile species, because they're youthful and they're able to like carry our genes because they can have babies. Then again, on the other hand, our rate of mortality and our lifespan is increasing. So from an evolutionary perspective, maybe in 1,000 years' time, that won't be the case anymore, and older people will be seen as equally attractive because the fertility kind of changes. Do you get what I mean? Because our lifespan is taking longer. Do you get what I mean?
The issue of, especially women, men too, I feel, to a degree,
Yeah.
but especially women losing their value as they age is such a huge issue. We're not going to delve into that today because it is a separate issue of its own, and I feel like looking better is not the issue. I'm all for looking better, because if looking better can make you feel better about yourself, can help you in your life, then yes, go for it. I think there's a certain way of promoting individual beauty.
Yeah, I think that's
no
what
matter
it is.
the age. I think there's beauty in everyone. I really do believe that, even though it sounds so cliche.
It is cliche. I'm the first one to tell you, but
But I
continue.
think there's beauty in every age, and why aren't we promoting that?
And I think even Kim Kardashian commented on J-Lo. Like, J-Lo had a concert, and obviously J-Lo is very talented, I would say.
Yes,
But she
extremely.
commented on the fact that how J-Lo was aging backwards, as opposed to commenting on the concert itself, which...
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting. It was very funny that she decided to comment on how J-Lo is looking so young. I think society emphasizes and puts emphasis on the way people look physically rather than their ability or their accomplishments, which is
Yeah.
obvious. We know that. It's
Yeah.
not news to anyone. I mean, and this is important because the way we see ourselves physically affects our self-esteem. And this has been proven multiple times. I read an article by Daniel Clay online, and he basically did a study on girls' self-esteem. He found that as girls grow up, their self-esteem declined, and that this was correlated with their self-perception of self and their body image.
I also read this study by Daniel Clay.
What a coincidence.
And he did, like he said, there was that downward trend in body satisfaction. And this was accounted for the more awareness you have of these socio-cultural attitudes towards how people look and sort of the media and stuff like that. Basically, the more self-aware you are about this, the sadder you will be.
Yeah, so the more you know about socio-cultural factors and the trends and what's in, the more dissatisfied you are with your body.
I guess ignorance is bliss, I guess.
Yeah, so if you want to continue to be happy, just click off.
I know, who would have thought it would have been that simple, like just log off. But it's sort of sad, like what about FOMO? I don't want to miss out. Do you get what I mean? This is what I mean by it's so ingrained in our society. Do you get what I mean? Like you can make an Instagram because you want to follow all your friends, but you will come across an image that is Photoshopped.
I mean, as adults, you'd think that you have the media literacy to kind of go, that's fake.
Yeah.
Teenagers coming across, say, a Kylie Jenner picture where she's promoting Spanx and butt creams. And when we actually know it's surgery.
The funniest thing ever was before she revealed that she had lip injections. This interviewer was like, Kylie, how do you get your lips so big? And she's like, people think that I only use one color, but like I use a bunch of different lip liners. Really? That's your secret?
Yeah, I know. And she's still young. She has a lot to learn. You know, it's not her fault. It's kind of societal pressure.
And there was this clip that was like, do you really think Kris Jenner would let me have like jaw like reassignment surgery or whatever? And I'm like, yes.
Yes,
she would.
She would. I think you need a level of transparency and authenticity.
Yeah.
Especially if you're on this huge platform, there needs to be that level of authenticity. And don't you think it's kind of taking away from individuality and unique beauty, because everyone kind of looks the same now? Not the same, but similar.
Yeah. Back to what you were saying about transparency though, you have to remember that celebrities can afford to hire personal trainers, a nutritionist, a stylist, people who literally have careers to make people look good. Yes. Do you get what I mean? And I think just being transparent on that can make such a big difference.
Yeah, and I think even like before awards ceremonies, you know, celebs usually fast and they go to fittings and wear tight-fitting underwear to flatten their stomachs or avoid, you know, unforgiving evening gowns, whereas the average person can't. I mean, if you need to buy a dress last minute and just before the event you realize, oh, it's not the most flattering, and most people don't have the option to go out and buy a different dress.
Yeah.
Whereas celebrities do. So you've got to keep that in mind as well, that, you know, it's not just Photoshop. Yeah. It's a lot of other socio-cultural factors that come into play as well.
I know, and the socio-cultural factors are not as, I'm going to use the word shameful, because in a way society does sort of shame people for having plastic surgery. We'd have to be ignorant to not say that. So yes, there is a reason why people sort of keep it a secret. But I think stuff like having a team of people that help you, that's sort of just common knowledge. So just being open with that, I feel like will make people feel better. And you were sort of talking about self-love earlier and things like that before I really interrupted.
Yeah.
But I just want to say it's so easy to love yourself and spread that image when you are the standard of beauty.
Yeah, that's a problem. Everyone kind of encourages self-love. If you're not catering to everyone or representing everyone in a way, you're making it very, very difficult for people to love themselves and accept themselves.
Yeah, and it's sort of odd how a body type, like something you literally can't control, goes in and out of fashion. How does that work?
Yes, body types are trendy. I remember in the early 2000s, like the Paris Hilton body was in.
Yeah.
And if you had bigger hips or bigger breasts, then you were actually bullied for it. I remember when I was in high school.
Yeah, and isn't it interesting how that sort of just like flipped on its head? Isn't that sort of weird?
Yeah,
How do you
but
feel?
that's still not right, because there are girls who don't have bigger hips or bigger breasts, and that's fine.
Yeah, but then they're seen as unattractive, especially like a flat ass these days. Like, people get shamed for like having a flat ass, and that's something you can't really control. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
squats isn't going to do that much, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the word we're looking for is inclusivity.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the trends are not very inclusive.
And we're going to be talking about plus size models a lot.
Oh, even online when they're using plus size models, I feel like some of them are not really plus size, they're just average.
Yeah.
And even on those models, they photoshopped the cellulite out and the stretch marks out, and that's still kind of unattainable. A lot of companies hide under the veil of, look, we're using a plus size model, but really she's just an average person, and then they photoshop her stretch marks and
Cellulite out.
Yeah. So what do you think about that?
This is where the drama begins. This is where it gets tricky. Because on the one hand, inclusivity is important. And what you're saying about cellulite and stuff like that, I agree. But there is that whole entire argument where people sort of believe that plus size people should not be on magazines. The same as anorexic people shouldn't be, or really ultra thin people shouldn't be on magazines.
But they are. Ultra thin people are on runways and magazines. So that
is combating
out the window.
But is combating the idea doing the complete opposite equally as good? Because a lot of people argue, I'm not saying this is what I believe, I'm just saying a lot of people argue this. A lot of people argue this, that it promotes sort of an unhealthy lifestyle by promoting either the ultra thin person and the overweight person.
That's the thing. Why do you need some kind of physical standard to be on a magazine? I mean, when are we going to reach the point where fat is literally just a descriptor and you're on a magazine because you've accomplished something or for your knowledge or expertise on something?
That's different. If it's a fashion magazine, lots of people argue that, being plus size, it's not about the way you look, it's from a health aspect.
I think that's just an excuse to just pretend that fat people, and I'm going to say fat people because I see it as just a descriptor.
Yeah.
I think it's just an excuse to completely exclude fat people from the fashion industry.
Do you honestly think that?
I don't think fashion magazines care about our health. Otherwise, they wouldn't be photoshopping to a degree where the images are so unattainable. They wouldn't be selling us this ideal of perfection. Why are we so concerned about only physical health? What about our mental health?
That's a good point.
If you're going to argue for health, shouldn't you be looking at health holistically?
So Demi Lovato shouldn't be on a magazine because she's addicted to drugs?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, no one in interviews, or if you have a drug addict or an alcoholic on a magazine article, no one brings that up. No one
because
says
it's just a part of who they are, even though they're struggling with it, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so it is their struggle, and it goes the same with fat people. Like, no one says this person should be off the cover of a magazine because she's a drug addict or an alcoholic, and we don't want to promote that. No one says that. If you've got the physical body, you're on there. No one cares what you do in your life. But as soon as if a fat person wants to be on a magazine, then their health is the issue. They don't want people to be morbidly obese. They don't want people to go down that route because it's unhealthy. I think it's an excuse used by people to exclude.
Yeah, to be fair, most of the people
models.
Yeah, to be fair, most of the people I see on Twitter that sort of say that kind of stuff, it comes from this place of being uncomfortable with the idea that someone who is not the standard is attractive.
You know what's funny? I did some research and I went on some Instagram accounts of bigger fashion bloggers, and some comments mostly by men, which is actually surprising. Is it surprising?
No.
It's kind of like, you're a man, I don't think you have a place to comment on how a woman's body should be, but that's another issue. No one should comment. Anyway, there was an image of this plus size model on Instagram and she was wearing shorts, and one of the guys commented said, "Oh, you look good, but maybe you should get this in your size." I mean, she's wearing it. It is her size. I think
yeah, that's stupid.
I think what he meant was cover up.
Yeah, and also Remy Ashton, she's a YouTuber. She sort of done a video. She went through this like massive weight loss sort of journey, and she sort of done this like social experiment of how ever since she lost the weight, this is sort of counteracting what you're saying. Ever since she lost the weight, people were like sort of slut shaming her and stuff like that. Before, when she was overweight, she was seen as like, oh, the bubbly, like, girl next door type of girl. And then she lost the weight and people are slut shaming her. So what do you say about situations like that?
People just adhere to their stereotypes and...
Basically, like, in a nutshell, you can never win.
You can never win.
Back to what you were saying about representation and inclusivity. I think inclusivity is important, especially of people who are of a different race, genders, whatever. But some people may argue that, you know, you don't choose to be black, you don't choose to be Asian, but in a way, weight is something that can be controlled.
Unless you're a doctor or that person's specific doctor, you have no place or right to comment about anyone's weight because sometimes it can't be controlled. There's just so much that goes into weight gain and obesity, and it's very confusing and complicated. It's not as straightforward as we like to think it is, and I think people want to make it seem like it's straightforward to justify the exclusion. I think that's what it is. I think people are just limiting health to physique. It's exclusion. I think that's what it comes down to.
But the way you look is a part of who you are in a way. Some people may argue that being like your body is who you are in a certain aspect, and you know, if you see a smoker down the street, I feel like it's sort of socially acceptable to sort of like frown upon them, like, oh my god, why are you smoking? But you can't do the same with someone who's overweight. What do you think about that? Some people argue that that's the same thing.
I mean, you shouldn't, if you see someone smoking on the roads, you'd be if you see someone smoking on the road, please don't go up to them and tell them to stop smoking. It's none of your business. It really isn't. You're not their doctor. So that's how I see it. The same way as if you see someone who's overweight, you don't go up to them and say, hey, you're overweight, let me help you lose weight. You don't do that. Okay, they have a mirror at home. People know they're overweight. Okay, if it was that simple, we wouldn't have health problems.
True. And at the end of the day, no matter who someone is, at least respect people.
I think everyone deserves respect, no matter how they look. Or where they've been. I mean, just because you're a smoker or alcoholic or whatever, that doesn't give anyone the right to lose respect for you. Everyone has their own narrative.
Okay, now I get what you're saying. You took me to your side because respect also comes with acknowledgement. So acknowledgement as in representation. Sort of, if you were overweight and there was not a single overweight person on TV, are you just acknowledging that those people don't exist? It is exclusion.
Oh, you know what happened recently with Victoria's Secret?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so then they actively decided to exclude transgender and plus size people because they're selling a fantasy. First of all, thumbs up for admitting that Victoria's Secret models are unattainable and it's just a fantasy.
Nikita Dragon made like a Victoria's Secret sort of video and it got more views than the show itself.
Yeah,
then again, it was a shorter video, but like that was pretty cool what she did.
I read a comment on Nikita Dragon's YouTube, and even I think Gigi Gorgeous made a video.
Yeah, she did.
You know, shame on you, Victoria's Secret, and I agree. Shame on you.
Shame.
And there were so many comments saying, you know, everyone is taking it too far. Everyone wants to be included.
Of course.
Like, I'm sorry, I'm just going to pretend that I don't exist over here. I should be okay with that.
Why everyone wants to feel included?
For instance, like Victoria's Secret, like these people exist. Are you trying to sell your product to only like slim, tall women?
And here's the thing, Victoria's Secret was
like, you trying to sell it to everyone because if you are, you need to include more people than slim, tall women.
And here's the thing. In your fashion show, you want to like sell this fantasy, but in your stores, you cater to everyone to make money. Like, pick your battle. Do you get what I mean? Like Victoria's Secret, the reason why so many people felt so upset about the Victoria's Secret thing, because they did cater to like a lot of women. Do you get what I mean?
A lot of the models actually kind of promote self-love and acceptance of self.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the company you're working for is making it really difficult.
Yeah.
Can't really love ourselves if we don't have the representation. I mean, can you imagine a teenage girl from a minority group who's not represented in Victoria's Secret? Can you imagine them growing up without seeing anyone that looks like them or has a similar narrative to them?
I don't think you need to imagine, because I do think sometimes that is the case most of the time.
Yeah,
For
I mean,
people.
how difficult. You'd grow up thinking you don't see yourself on TV, you don't see people, sorry, who are similar to you in magazines, in interviews, or the general media, and you think, oh, there's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
I don't adhere to the norm.
And sort of linking this back to overweight people, because that is an argument that I get a lot, or I see a lot when people talk about body positivity and stuff like that. I read this thing on Tumblr which was really good. Like, if someone can't change something within 5 seconds, like, don't mention it.
Even Instagram models who are all about self-love and acceptance are kind of perpetuating insecurities and self-doubt in the younger audience by using Photoshop, by using, you know, those unattainable images of their bodies. I mean, come on, the last thing a kid needs to worry about is how their body looks like.
Losing weight and all that kind of stuff, and physical health, it's not limited to just the physicality of it. It's also a very mental and emotional thing. Sometimes it doesn't just come down to willpower like a lot of people think. It's a very like emotional process.
Yeah, it is. And I understand that a lot of the Instagram posts kind of think they're motivating everyone.
Yeah.
But is there really motivation if it leaves the other person more insecure or feeling less worthy of themselves?
Yeah.
Is that really motivation?
There was this post that went viral. I think it went viral 2 years ago. It was this woman, and she had like abs and everything, like really like peak of health. In the image, she had like her 3 kids with her. And the caption was, "I have 3 kids. What's your excuse?"
I saw that picture and I saw it at the worst time because I had just given birth.
How did it make you feel?
Not good, obviously, because it made me feel like, okay, I have no excuse. I need to step back into shape.
And the thing is, here's the problem with it. Like, do whatever you want, but why do you have to bring down sort of other people in a way? Like, if she posted that image, like, I have 3 kids and this is my body, like, that would be amazing. Do you get what I mean?
Yes.
Because mothers have to do so much, and the fact that she's like at this physical like peak or whatnot is good. But why did you have to include what's your excuse?
Because you don't know our excuse.
There are a lot of reasonable excuses, okay?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of women can't snap back into shape.
And not to mention, on top of all of that, you have a baby to take care of. Come on.
I know, like, your body
especially a newborn
isn't exactly a priority.
And I also saw Kylie Jenner, like, she posted a picture and she was like snapped back and she was like, "This is 3 weeks after I gave birth." It's like, oh my goodness. And Khloe Kardashian saying like, "Oh, it's just the angle, like I'm just naturally this
Yeah,
big."
Khloe posted a picture of her lying down and she said, and everyone's commenting, "Oh my god, how did you lose the weight? You know, you just gave birth to a human being, to this small alien." And she's like, "Oh, you know, don't be fooled, it's just the angle." It's like, no, it's not the angle. You have a flat stomach.
Exactly.
A completely flat stomach.
And I think
and even if you're slim, you have a bit of a pooch after you give birth.
Yeah. Just within pregnancy itself, there's already so much misconception, like, oh, pregnancy, like, you're glowing, it's great all the time. Most mothers say, like, pregnancy was sort of hell. So already that is a misconception. And now you have this, on top of, like, you have this baby, and now you have this added pressure from society to look how you look like before you gave birth to a human being. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, your body changes in ways that sometimes you can't really go back to that.
Yeah. And even when...
If you can, that's great. That's amazing. But if you can't, that's also great and amazing. It's sad that it affects so many women.
Yeah.
Even though it's something that's kind of out of our control.
I remember, like, Acacia Brindley, she gave birth, and you know how sometimes after you give birth, like, the bump doesn't go, like, fully down?
Yeah.
she took a photo of that, and I remember reading some comments like, oh, you gave birth, like, why do you still look pregnant? Like, come on. And that's what the problem is. Like, even when celebrities sort of acknowledge their, like, post-baby body, they sort of don't include, like, how much help they got, like, from babysitters, like, personal trainers, honestly, surgery. And sometimes, like you said, sometimes it's just physically impossible to go back to the way you looked after you gave birth. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember reading an article where Miranda Kerr said that she's kind of accepted her baby body and she's not in a hurry to snap back into shape, and it could take forever or never.
Yeah.
That's really important to say, but at the same time, it wasn't realistic because to the average person, she's snapped back. I mean, her body looks kind of the same, and she didn't delve into the reality of,
like, she's still hotter than everyone, is what you're saying?
yes.
But yeah, back to what we were saying before we sort of delved into the whole pregnancy thing. Back to like overweight people, whatnot. I just wanted to mention this really quick. And also, this does also include mothers and stuff. Physical health, I think I learned this like by like getting older, becoming more mature, whatever. Physical health is not just physical. I already mentioned this, but there is a very big mental aspect, and I think as soon as people sort of acknowledge that, I feel like that's when we will start to begin to make progress. Do you get what I mean? Because
we need to look at health holistically. Take a holistic approach to health, and even though a lot of influencers and celebrities talk about mental health and why it matters and promoting body positivity, I don't think it's done right.
Yeah, I agree. For example, like 2 years ago or a year ago, like I knew I was not mentally ready to even think about losing weight. Do you get what I mean?
Yes.
Because I knew I would spiral into a place where I didn't want to be. I think just like overall like positivity and encouragement, just making people feel better will make you physically better. Like it's proven by doctors. There's this great doctor on YouTube. His name is Dr. Mike, I think. I think that's his name. And he basically talks about how he gets these patients in and they say, oh, I have back pain or I have this arm pain. And he sort of asks them like issues about their mental health or whatnot. And as soon as they get something off their chest or something, the physical symptoms sort of alleviate. And that's the case for a lot of people. Like as soon as people like treat their anxiety or their depression or whatnot, like, you know, their eating habits and stuff like that change as well. And I think that is a big aspect. And at the end of the day, like, I feel like some people are going to agree with this, but I feel like sometimes your mental well-being is more important than how you look.
Yes, of course. I think
like physical being.
Yeah, I think everything's interlinked, but your mental state can affect your physical state.
Yeah. You said what I monologued about in one sentence.
Just before we wrap up, I really wanted to discuss this with you.
Yeah.
And wanted your perspective on it. What do you think about those pages which expose Photoshop, which at the moment is celeb face?
Oh, I love celeb face. Honestly, if I were to say that me looking through those, like there are days where I just like scroll through them, like I just sit down and scroll through them and I feel so good about myself. Like you're doing amazing, sweetie. Like you're fine, you're normal.
That makes sense. Feeling better about yourself, because I think, what was his name? You remember his name? I can't remember his name.
UK Yama?
was that his name?
Yuko Yamamiya.
Yes, Yuko Yamamiya. He went into the effects of and the extent of internalization of media ideals, and the result was exposure to media images of thin and beautiful women actually negatively affects the body image and mood of young women. So the fact that you feel better makes sense.
Is psychologically proven.
Yes. I think he also delved into the fact that with media literacy, your mood wasn't affected as much.
So
that you could kind of separate the internalization.
Yeah, so basically just us speaking about this is helping our mood and how we feel about and how we perceive our body. That's sort of interesting.
Yeah, because if you've got media literacy and you know that 99% of what's online is photoshopped and not real, then as you're scrolling through Instagram or whatever social media outlet you use, you know, if you come across a woman or a man with huge guns or a huge butt, you'd know, okay, this is probably not real. The Jen Selter thing,
Yeah.
her butt is not real.
Really?
It's a combination of posing and Photoshop. I'm not saying this to shame her.
So are you saying that posing is a lie? If you pose differently, you're lying?
No, but if you know about posing and Photoshop, then you would know that that's not the reality of her body.
That's where I disagree.
That she doesn't walk around.
I agree with the Photoshop part, but I disagree with the posing part, because when you're posing, that's still your body. You're just posing. Like it's like it's still your body. You're not changing anything. That's why I disagree with you.
You're disagreeing on something that I agree with you?
Oh, because you said posing and photoshopping. Where you
No,
lump
I
them
said
together.
if you have the knowledge about posing and photoshopping, you would know.
Oh, so I'm just stupid. This is what happens when I don't listen to you. I swear, I think that every single time we sit down, it's just me not listening to her and me just going on a tangent. But back to what you were saying about those exposing pages. Lots of people would say it's not our place to like expose sort of people, and that's just like their own internal struggle. So by exposing that this celebrity or this influencer photoshopped, it's none of your business. So what do you think about that?
If people like Bella Hadid and Kendall Jenner are photoshopping their pictures, people who are our standard of beauty, and you can't see my rabbit fingers, maybe it's good that they're getting exposed in a way, because it kind of reveals that the standard of beauty is actually a fake standard. It's unattainable.
Also, another thing, I just thought about this, maybe those exposing pages are also a good deterrent for doing something like that. Do you get what I mean?
Yes.
Like, no influencer wants to be on celeb face. How embarrassing. Since we're talking about deterrence and stuff like that, how do we sort of solve this ginormous problem?
Mhm.
Modern problems require modern solutions.
I think this is why our podcast is redundant, because we never had the answers.
We're just picking out crumbs at this point.
Yeah. No, let's be serious. I think transparency is key.
Transparency does so much, and just showing your true self and showing that there's no shame in who you are. For example, I follow a Victoria's Secret model. Her name is Taylor Hill, and she posts pictures. She has like acne. She talks about how she has like hereditary like dark under eye circles. And for me personally, my dark under eye circles and like eyelids has been like an insecurity. And seeing this Victoria's Secret model, who's a Victoria's Secret model, posting an Instagram selfie with like her pimples and stuff, it made me realize, oh, like I'm a human being in a way.
The fact that someone looking normal made you feel better shows how sad the world is.
That is sad and pathetic. Like, someone looking... That is really sad and pathetic. Like, someone being normal. I'm like, oh my god, like, I relate to a Victoria's Secret model. Like, what year is this? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, and sometimes we sanctify and idolize, like, certain celebrities, like Miranda Kerr. Everyone loves her. Everyone absolutely loves her, but she uses a lot of filters and, you know, I think she blows out her pores. She has no pores.
By the way,
and she does that for a reason, because she's known for her youthful skin. That's like that's her thing. And she has a skincare line, so she can't go on Instagram and post a picture with all her pores. And yeah, and it's so funny because a lot of celebrities, even when they're trying to put on makeup or they show you how they use their skincare line or whatever, are wearing makeup.
Yeah, someone sent me a video of that. They wear like, yeah, that's so stupid. Oh
they wear light makeup, and it's like, are you judging our intelligence again? Really?
And just to think, speaking of solutions, just to get this out there, because I feel like a lot of people don't actually know this, videos are also edited, and you probably think that's the case for TV, but also YouTubers like SS Cyberwolf. It was revealed by Nerd City. We're big fans of Nerd City, by the way.
Yeah.
It was revealed that she like adds like a blurring effect on her videos. So do not be fooled, even by videos. Even my videos, I get comments of people saying your skin looks so good. It's the camera. It's not me who's doing that, okay?
Yeah, and lighting plays into effect.
Oh yeah, obviously lighting and stuff like that. Miranda Kerr, like just a regular, like degular, like face video is edited. So can you really trust anything? Not really. Back to what we
and I see like, and I see 16-year-olds commenting on her picture saying, "You look younger than me. You look better than me." I mean, is that really healthy?
I was that 16-year-old.
And they don't stop her because it's revenue.
Back to sort of solving the solution. What do you think, like,
how do we solve this?
How do we solve this on a personal level?
Stop following accounts that don't make you feel good about yourself. If you are on Instagram and you're following an account of a girl who has this insane body and every time you see her in the morning it's making you feel like crap, just unfollow her. Simple as that. Don't follow those accounts. You don't need that external pressure from anyone.
I did unfollow Kylie Jenner for a while.
Yeah, and look, if you're using her for motivation, if she or he, I keep saying she because I'm a woman, if she or he making you feel some kind of insecurity about yourself, then there is no purpose in that kind of motivation.
And if you continue to follow them,
purpose.
Yeah, and if you continue to follow them, I would say that sort of plays a part to sort of self-destructive behavior. Do you get what I mean? So for the sake of your own mental health, just unfollow those pages if you feel like that.
Yeah, don't follow them. Don't give them your time of day. I think if you believe in body positivity and inclusivity and all that, then you would not Photoshop your pictures or morph your body.
Are you calling me a hypocrite? Because I am. But that's the thing. Like, I think that's like the first step. Being open and saying, oh, I struggle with this, or I need to stop doing this.
Yes, it's normal.
It's going to take a while for me, but we'll get there. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah. Just transparency and openness, I think, is needed everywhere.
Yeah. That
ties into this idea of shame. But if we don't expose it or are honest with ourselves, then when will this end? Are we forever to be ashamed of the way we actually look? Lily Singh once said that she apologizes to people when they see her without makeup. She's like, I'm not going to apologize for looking like myself, for having, dark under eye circles or for having a blemish. It's just me. Like, it's come to a point where we have to. I do it too. If I see a friend and I'm not wearing makeup,
I do that in videos.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
I do that in videos, and I have makeup on, and I'm still apologizing.
Yeah, don't apologize for being yourself.
Everyone on the internet hates Lily Singh now for some reason.
Really? Why?
It's a long story.
Is this for the podcast or among ourselves?
Among ourselves, but you can leave it in, I guess.
Okay.
I'll tell you all the tea once we get off. Which sort of leaves us to the conclusion, the end of this podcast.
What is our conclusion? That was our conclusion.
Oh, that was our conclusion.
Do you have anything else to add?
In conclusion, love yourself, accept yourself, be positive.
We are so cringy.
My quote of the day, I'm going to introduce the quote of the day. No, I'm not. This is a one-time thing only. The quote of the day is, don't say anything to yourself that you wouldn't say to your child self.
Wow. Did you just make that up?
No, obviously I stole it from someone. As if I'm that, philosophical.
You guys should have seen the look in Zara's eyes. That was this one passionate quote.
I know, there was a little twinkle in my eye when I said that. Anyways, that's the end of the podcast. Thank you so much for watching. That's the end of today's video. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you, yeah.
I'm going to donate the word to you today. What should people comment if they watch the whole thing to this point?
Something cheesy.
Do they comment something cheesy or the word something cheesy?
No, the word something cheesy.
Okay. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Zara, signing off.
And this is Nora. Thank you so much for listening.
And yeah, goodbye.
Bye.